This is a photo of a tree at sunrise on a lake. But there's a story behind this photo that means a lot more than the photo itself. In fact, the photo itself, I actually have a lot of problems with. I shot this with my iPhone, unfortunately. I should have shot this with my Fuji or with one of my Nikons. But I was in a canoe with my friend, and it was at a kind of a guy's weekend. Me and some college buddies went and got a cabin on the lake and spent the weekend just sort of catching up on things. And on Sunday morning, my buddy and I decided we would go get the canoe out and paddle out into the lake so we could watch the sunrise. And that's what we did here. And this photo, when I see it, it reminds me of that weekend and the fun times we had and that time with my buddies. So in that sense, this photo serves all of its purpose. Like, it does exactly what it should do. It tells a story. At least to me, it tells a story. I don't really imagine it would tell a story to most people because most people weren't there when I shot this photo. And it might look like an interesting image, but it doesn't tell the same story. But the problem I have with this photo is when you start to examine it on anything more than like a tiny phone screen, there's a lot of issues with this photo when you look at it on Flickr. So if you're on YouTube, if you click through the link below the video, and you go to my blog and then click the photo on my blog, you'll see the full-size version of Flickr. And this has all kinds of problems because of the crummy phone camera in my iPhone. And this is something that a lot of companies are trying to overcome this, but there's laws of physics that are just inescapable. Any mobile phone, all mobile phones have a tiny image sensor. Like, physically, it's a tiny image sensor, and it cannot gather as much light as a DSLR. It is laws of physics. You cannot get around this, but companies try to. Like Apple in its iPhone 14, they have a 48 megapixel sensor. They use a technique called pixel binning that essentially quadruples the size of each pixel so that it enhances the light gathering capability. That's all well and good, but it is still, at the end of the day, a tiny physical image sensor compared to a DSLR. And if I would have brought my Fuji, that sensor is enormous compared to my iPhone, and it would have captured a much cleaner image. If you look at the full-size image, you see it. I think I compare it to like a 1990s CD-ROM game. It looks terrible. There's so much banding. There's JPEG and compression artifacts in the sky. Because in order to get this shot, my phone had to attempt to use a long enough shutter speed to capture light, but a short enough shutter speed to not get blurry motion. And the computational photography engine in the iPhone ended up using whatever light it could and produce this photo, but it's all kinds of problems on when you look at it on full size. The sky just looks horribly compressed. And I even shot this in the iPhone's native HEIC format, which has more data in it than a JPEG, but still, it just wasn't there. The tree, if you look at it, it's like, it's not sharp at all. The colors, the yellow's kind of sickly. Like, don't look at this full size on Flickr if you want to think of it as like a nice photo. But do look at it from like an educational standpoint, I guess, if you really want to. All in all, like, this photo works fine as a way to help me remember a fun time with my buddies. It does not work well and does not hold up under scrutiny from a quality image standpoint. And had I shot this with my Fuji, I could have controlled a lot of those elements, get a much cleaner shot. But then, what if my Fuji got wet? It would have broken. So the iPhone does have advantages. I'm not saying you should never take photos like this with your mobile phone. Just like anytime I do, I'm just reminded of why, yes, I really enjoy the convenience of mobile phone, but it is just not the same as shooting with a proper camera.